Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to another Saturday morning picture house. Look at the cinema. For those of us that remember. So this is like an alternative. Anyway, it's time to say hello to Richard. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, Ian, and how are you on this rather dull day?
Well, the sun's just come out here, but the good news is it's not sticky, it's not hot, it's a bit better for me. I have been suffering a good one this week. But I'm good now. That's the main thing.
Good.
Anyway, what we've got for you this week is a little video on songs that Richard and I, thought that should have been singles. And why weren't they singles? Some of mine are quite long, but I would have, I will explain that some of mine, this is where, editing as well. So that's how we're going to do it. Usual thing, Richard will go first, I'll go second. And I've got 5 bubbling unders.
I have got 7 bubbling unders.
Good grief.
Could have had more.
Okay, so let's see where we go on this one.
Okay, well, before I start, one song per artist as per usual. Also, some of these songs were singles in other countries. I know for a fact some of them were singles in the US, but they weren't singles here. So I'm going by the UK only. And my number 10 is from 1965, and it was the lead-off track of an EP by the Kinks. And the track is called A Well-Respected Man, which I think is absolutely brilliant. It's almost like a folky type sound. And for 65, it was one of the first ones that Ray Davies would do like that, which would have sat really well on his, say, 1968 Village Green album. I think it's excellent. The record company didn't want to release it as a single because they wanted more of that sort of power rock, you really got me type till the end of the day type stuff. But A Well-Respected Man, brilliant, was released in America, and it was a top 20 hit in America. It's my number 10, A Well-Respected Man by the Kinks.
What an excellent choice to start with. It's amazing that did they think it wouldn't make would appeal to the British market?
I think that's it, because by around 65, they were still running on the fumes of You Really Got Me and All Day and All the Night. And I think the single that came around that time may have been Till the End of the Day, which has got that sort of You Really Got Me riff to it. In fact, I prefer Till the End of the Day. But in saying that again, Dedicated Follower of Fashion has that folky feel to it, but it never materialized as a single in the UK, which is a shame. I think Ray Davies wanted it, but the record company said no.
Yeah, I like that song. I think I can see the American appeal to it because it's like flowers in your hair and sitting around in circles. What a great choice to start off. Okay, my number 10 comes from 1979, and it's a song off the last Led Zeppelin album. And it's In the Evening. Now, okay, it's a very long track, but you could cut that if you cut that bit and you just come in with that keyboard bit, it's a wonderful song. It's probably one of the best songs on that album. There's a little bit in the middle with the guitar that could be edited out, but I think it would have made a really good single, and I think it would have done quite well, and it would have promoted that album more than it ever got, because it didn't get much promotion, that album, which is such a shame because it was John's last album. But I think it's a wonder. It was a new way that Led Zeppelin would go in. John Paul Jones's keyboard work on that is fantastic, and I think it would just make a great single.
Oh, very good choice. I do like that album, and I think the reason why I like it is because they had changed their sound a little bit with that album. I thought that the previous album, Presence, was Led Zeppelin by numbers, really, and it was a little bit bland, and it's actually probably my least favorite of all their albums. But yeah, very, very, very good choice.
When I did it as short, the album, and I thought it wouldn't get many views, over 1,000 views. So it shows how good In Through the Outdoor is popular with the Led Zeppelin fans.
It's different. Well, my number 9 is from 1974, and this was actually a B-side. And it's by the Electric Light Orchestra, and it's from their El Dorado album, and it's called Poor Boy, the Greenwood. And it's about 2.5 to 3 minutes long, and it is so catchy. It's full of that orchestral strings and all the rest of it, but it's got such a hook to it. I just don't understand why it was never the first single. I can't get it out of my head. It's a really beautiful song, but it's very slow and a little bit depressing. Poor Boy the Greenwood. It's so uplifting, really good, swirling strings, and it ended up as one of the B sides of Telephone Line a year or a couple of years later. The other one was King of the Universe, but my favorite track off the album by far, and to me, it should have been a single. So it's my number 9, ELO, Poor Boy the Greenwood.
I like that song, and I think it should have been the lead single. That album probably would have sold more if they'd have put that out.
I think it would have been.
Yeah, big hit. Can't Get You Out of My Head's okay, but it's not a single. It's not a single in my books. I don't know where they got, but yeah, what another great choice. Okay, my number 9 is from 1970. It's from Slade and Play It Loud, and it's the brilliant Pook Hill.
Great track. Best song on the album.
It is the best song on the album.
Yes. And it even got on to Slatest as well in 1973, their greatest hits.
It got on a greatest hits album, so it's the song that's on a greatest hits album that was never released as a single. I think it should have been the lead single because the change in the guard.
Mm-hmm.
Where Do You Come From? Great, but I think that's a better. It's what we got used to, that.
I couldn't understand why Know Who You Are was the single, especially after Genesis from their Beginnings album was also a single, and it's exactly the same song without words. So Know Who You Are is the one with the words.
Yeah,
it's a great track as well, but Pook Hill for me is without doubt the best track on that album. Really good, excellent choice. Well, my number 8 I know was a single in the States, but it wasn't here, and I triple checked. And it's from 1971, and it's from the Moody Blues on their Every Good Boy Deserves Favor album. And it's the magnificent The Story in Your Eyes, which I think is one of the Moody Blues' best ever tracks. And I really love it on the album as well, with the procession going into it. However, on its own, it's every bit as good, and it gets on to every Moody Blues greatest hits. It's always the track taken off that album, and it's one of Justin Hayward's best. Story in Your Eyes, brilliant, upbeat. And after Nights in White Satin, and probably the one Your Wildest Dreams, is my favorite Moody Blues track. So it gets my number 8.
Yeah, I like that track, and it's a track that always seems that when they went on tour, that song was always in the set somewhere.
Yep, had to be.
Yeah, sometimes it opened the show. I've got a couple of live bits that opens with, but I think it's one of them tracks. It's always on because the fans like it.
That's a fantastic song.
It's a fantastic song. It's just Justin at his best, I think. What a good choice. Okay, this is where I couldn't believe this. My next one is from 1971, and it's from David Bowie off Hunky Dory.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, You Pretty Things.
Yeah, I was thinking of that myself.
Why wasn't that released? It's one of the best songs on Hunky Dory.
The reason is it was a single for Peter Noone earlier on in 1971, and it was a top 20 hit. So that's why he never released it, because Peter Noone was actually the first person to record that song. It was written for him, and then he put it on Hunky Dory. So there's no point in releasing it again as a single. But I can actually say that, but whenever it comes to one of my choices, there was a different version released as well. But that's the reason.
Which is really strange, because back in the 50s, if you look in the UK charts,
I know, yeah.
People.
I know. But 1971, a little bit different. But I like Peter Noon's version as well. It's a little bit more upbeat and more poppy than Bowie's. But yeah, I think if it had been a single without Peter Noon, I think it would have been a hit, but not to be. Well, my number 7 is from T-Rex, and it's from their second last album, Futuristic Dragon. Now, there was 2 singles released off that album, New York City and Dreamy Lady. New York City's brilliant single. Dreamy Lady's good, but not the best. There was one song crying out to be a single, and it was called Sensation Boulevard. And I absolutely love it. Now, it has got an almost slightly disco-y type feel to it, with a really good little guitar chugging sound, and a really, really catchy sing along chorus, very simple chorus. But to me, that would have brought Mark Bowen back into the top 10. I'm certain of it, but for some reason, never released. And I don't think it was released anywhere in the world as a single. It sort of opened side 2 after you got that Theme for a Dragon instrumental. It's absolutely brilliant. So, Sensation Boulevard is my number 7.
I'm glad you put it in because I had 2 T-Rex songs. That one and the one that I actually chose. So I am so pleased he got in there because he did deserve. Okay, my number 7 from 1974 off the Sweet Fanny Adams album. And it's the Rockin' Restless.
Yeah, good track. Really good track. Yeah.
That should have been released as a single because that would have shown the bubblegum pop fan. Don't get me, I love the bubblegum sweet, but boy, that would have shown the fans that this band are not just poppy. This is a rock band with a serious rock sound. I just love it. It's got a great vocal from Brian, but it's Andy's guitar work on that is just electric.
There's a couple other songs off the album I think could have been singles as well. I know the one you don't like, AC/DC, but I think it's really, really catchy.
Yeah, I think that would have made a good single, actually.
A good single, and then another one which what's the name of it? It's got a bit of a Eddie Cochran something else riff to it. Oh, the name escapes me, but it could have been a single. But what an album! A really good hard rock album with a few little pop twists in there as well.
Yeah.
Good choice. Well, my number 6 is from 1983 and Mike Oldfield. Moonlight Shadow was his first single, quite right too. The second single, however, was Shadow on the Wall, and it's a really good rock track, but to me, it was never a single. The single that should have been is Foreign Affair.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a perfect follow-up to Moonlight Shadow with Maggie Riley singing. Absolutely brilliant. It's hypnotic, it's summery, and it would have been a top 5 hit single. I'm certain of it. Then a few years later, they came back and took another single off it, In High Places by John Anderson. Definite.
Oh, it's one of the worst songs on this album, that is.
I don't understand why they did it because they had Shine by John Anderson, which failed the chart, and I actually liked Shine, but In High Places, no. Foreign Affair, no, not very good at all. It did get on Elements, the 1992 sort of greatest hits or 1993 greatest hits, which was good to see, but for some reason, never a single. So that's my number 6, Mike Oldfield and Foreign Affair.
Yeah, one of my favourite tracks on that album, Foreign Affair. I think it's just a terrific, and I actually think it's a better song than Moonlight Shadow.
I think it's up there. Moonlight Shadow is just it's plus for me.
Okay, my number 6, we're going to 1979, and it's a song off The Wall, and it's the brilliant Hey You.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Another Brick in the Wall, Part 2, big hit, number 1, and they could have done with a follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hey You, with a little bit of editing, would have been a perfect.
Comfortably Numb, not the follow-up.
I can't remember.
Can't remember either.
was at all. But I think "Hey You" is a brilliant song. The
Yeah,
word,
I totally agree. I think it's a really good album. That album took me a long time to get into. In fact, it's a little bit like Quadrophenia, although Quadrophenia I do like, but I don't love. I do love The Wall now. I think it's just a fantastic album, and Hey You is one of the highlights, definitely. And yes, I think it would have been a hit if it had been released.
yes,
Well, my number 5 is from your beloved Status Quo. And I don't know if you're going to agree with us or not, because you know the way that we're a little bit different with Quo. You're Parfit and I'm Rossi. Well, this is a Francis Rossi song, and it's from 1982, or 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 2, and it's Jealousy. I think Jealousy would have been a big hit single for him, a top 10. Now, the two singles off the album were Dear John, which is the cover version, which I do like, and I do love Rick Parfitt's She Don't Fool Me. But for me, Jealousy should have been a single. It was a single in the Republic of Ireland. I don't know how well it did. And then Francis Rossi actually recorded it for a solo single around 1985 or so. But it's just catchy, catchy Quo. And it's along lines of lies and what you're proposing in a way that it's just so damn catchy, you just can't help but like it. And to me, it would have been a hit single. So my number 5 Status Quo Jealousy from their 1982 album.
yeah, I agree. I am Francis Rossi and Bernie Frost version is just too poppy. They put lots of keyboards and overdubs in it, and it turned it into a shocker. But I do. You see, when they released that, there's a song on the B side of Jealousy called Where Are They Now? And that's a far better song than Jealousy on the Francis Rossi. That would have been a better single. But the Quo version is a lot better. And I totally agree. I'm not, for once we agree on something about Status Quo, because I think that would have made a far better song. Okay, my number 5, back to 1971, and this is my T-Rex. And I know you like this song because it's been mentioned on videos before, and it's Mambo Sun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I agree. It should have been a single. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, it's just a typical groove, isn't it?
Yeah. It's almost like a shuffly type groove, but it's a very dreamy type song as well. Like it's not in your face. It's just a really, really nice sounding song. And yeah, I think that would have been a big hit if they had released it maybe after Jeepster or whatever. But Bowling Night was the max singles of any of his albums, I think. No, Down in Underworld had 3. But brilliant, brilliant choice from a brilliant album. Well, my number 4 is from 1967, and I think this was actually a B-side in America. It's from the Rolling Stones. And I thought this might have been released in the early 90s because it was used for a Benetton ad, but I couldn't find anything, so I'm putting it in here. And it's She's a Rainbow, and it's completely different to anything the Stones did. It's got the most gorgeous piano part, really, really catchy chorus, and it's on their Satanic Majesty's Request album. I absolutely love it. And yeah, that and 2000 Light Years from Home are the best 2 songs off that album. But She's a Rainbow for me, number 4, wonderful track and different for the Stones.
Yeah, I like that track. Now, I'm not a great fan of the Majesties, but that is one of the outstanding tracks on the album, and why it wasn't a single. I think if they'd have released that as a single, I think the album would have probably sold more if they released it at the time, because it's got that dreamy feel to it, hasn't it?
Unfortunately, Stones didn't release any singles from their albums at all in the 60s. None. 0. Zilch.
Oh no, big mistake. Okay, my number 4 is from 1970, and it's from the Beatles, off the Let It Be album. The long winding road I cannot stand. It's dreary, it's boring, it sends you to sleep. But they should have released I've Got a Feeling. The upbuild, the uplifting lyrics. It's been a good year. We pulled the socks up. The time, I thought it would have been a better song for that time
Mhm.
in UK. Uplifting, getting everyone again. But no, they
I
decided on the dreary, long, windy road.
I think another reason why I Got a Feeling works so well is the vocal interchange between John Lennon and Paul McCartney, and you hadn't heard that for quite a while, really. And without John Lennon's part, that song would have been all right. Without Paul McCartney's part, it would have been all right. But you see, you put the two of them together. It's a little bit like the song called "Wait" on the Help album, because they've both got individual lead vocals on it. I think it works so well. I think that's why Paul McCartney, whenever he was playing it live a couple of years ago, had the big screen with John Lennon singing his part on
Oh
the
no,
back.
that was beautiful. It
Yeah.
really, and it made the hairs on my back stand up. It was so nice just to see that again one more time, even though it's an old clip. It was just wonderful to hear that song done again. Beautiful song, and should have been released as a single.
Well, my number three, I've got this by Queen, and I have two songs here, and I haven't made up my mind what I'm going to pick. So I'm going to go with my original choice, and it's from your favorite Queen album from 1982, Hot Space. And the track is Calling All Girls by Roger Taylor, which was a single in the States. But for me, it honestly, I think after Under Pressure, because it was a year before, I think Calling All Girls should have been the opening single of that album. I think it's an absolutely magnificent pop song. It's extremely melodic, and the vocals of Freddie are wonderful on it. And it's acousticy, and it just sounds so good. I know you're not keen on it, but they went with Body Language, which I did like, but to me, it should have been a Freddie solo song. But Calling All Girls, I think, is an absolute genius of a song. And it was starting to show that Roger Taylor in the 1980s, and I stand by this, was the best Queen writer of the 80s, because I think he had two of the best songs off the game. I think he had two of the best songs off Hot Space. He had Radio Gaga, he had A Kind of Magic, he had Breakthrough, Invisible Man. So this was almost the start of it all, and Calling All Girls for me, absolutely wonderful track, and should have been a single from Queen, my number three.
It's not a particular favourite of mine, no, but I think it should have been. I think it should have been a single because it's got a bit more. It's got a bit of a '50s feel to it as well,
Yeah, it does.
and it's actually got guitar in it.
Yeah, it does.
And I think it's for me, it's one of their songs, probably my third favourite on the album. But
Well,
yeah,
that's not.
it is not a bad choice actually. I don't mind that one at all. Okay, my number three from 1981, and it's from Iron Maiden. It's a song that was on their second album, Killers. The thing is, it's a huge favourite of the fans, and it still gets played today, and it's the brilliant Rothschild.
No.
No, I think if you heard it, you may.
I doubt it though.
Yeah,
I
it's
just,
it's an absolutely brilliant song. But they went with some I can't. They went from Purgatory or something, which is all right, but it's not what I call single material.
no.
If you look at the future releases of singles by Iron Maiden, Rothschild is up there. It's short, it's sharp,
Mhm.
it's 2 or 3 minutes long, which is perfect for an Iron Maiden single. How it didn't get released as a single, whose idea it was, and probably EMI, because when it comes to single releases, they hadn't got a clue.
Yeah. Well, I'll take your word for it, but I just don't know what. I think I know about three Iron Maiden songs altogether, but there you go. Well, my number two, and it's from my beloved ABBA. It's the track Eagle from ABBA, the album. It's an absolutely wonderful track. And a lot of people think it's actually quite proggy with all the synth and all the rest of it. I don't get that. I just think it's highly melodic. It had to be cut down for single release by almost 2 minutes because it's over 6 minutes long, or about 6 minutes long. And the single release is about 4:10 or something like that there. It was a single in certain territories in Europe, but never in the UK. And if that had a followed Take a Chance on Me, to me, it would have been another number one hit. It's got a wonderful video, beautiful, beautiful chorus, well sung, really well recorded track, and it's my number two, ABBA Eagle.
That's my favourite track off that album.
Yeah, it's probably mine as well, actually. Yeah.
Man, what a great choice. I can't say any more to that. You said it all. It is just a very powerful song. Okay, this next one you've heard of the band, but you've probably never heard the song.
Oh.
Now this is from 1982, and it's from Uriah Heep, and it's off an album called A Bob Me Nog. Now they did release some singles on them, but they were that 80s wishy-washy, synthy nonsense. Then there's one track on there that they should have released, which is what Uriah Heep were, and it's called Too Scared to Run. It opens up with a great box guitar riff. Lee's drums come in. It's a proper rocker with Trevor Bolder. Really, we all love Trevor Bolder for a great bass player, but it was probably too heavy for bronze. They wanted to be. If they'd have released that would have probably done a lot better for them. And it's a brilliant song.
Well, good choice. I don't know it. But heaviness is not necessarily a bad thing when it comes to chart positions, because Ace of Spades is as heavy as hell and did really well.
Yeah, I think this would have been top 10, but I reckon it'd have been top 40.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Well, my number one is by David Bowie, of course. And this was a single in the UK, but in a completely different, re-recorded, reimagined version. So it doesn't count. And it's from 1971 in the UK, but 1970 in the US. And it's The Man Who Sold the World, which for me, I don't understand why it was never a single. There was no singles taken off The Man Who Sold the World album. And to me, this was crying out for it. And the proof is in the pudding, because in 1974, Lulu recorded it again with Bowie, slightly different arrangement, and took it into the top 10. So, and she had hardly any hits for ages, and she managed to get the top 10 with it. Man Who Sold the World, absolutely brilliant track. And I do also like two cover versions. I love the Lulu one, and I do like the Midge version. If you've ever heard it, it's pretty good.
I've heard that. Yeah, it is pretty good.
It is pretty good. I don't like the Nirvana one at all, unfortunately. That's the way it goes. I don't like his voice. But my number one, Bowie, The Man Who Sold the World.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's that beginning of that guitar at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Draws you straight in, doesn't it? It's very melodic, and it was very melodic for that period as well. It was a little bit different. I think the fans love it. Everyone loves that track.
Yeah,
I think it'd have been a number one. I really do. Okay, my number one is from Whitesnake. Now, this goes back to their Love Hunter album, 1979. Now, they did release a single on there, and it was called Long Way From Home. And it's a mediocre song. But there was a great song on there that should have been a single, and it's Walking in the Shadow of the Blues. It was what Whitesnake were at the time. It's a huge favourite with the fans. Even when they reinvented themselves, that song was in the set. It's a beloved song of Whitesnake fans. It's got a great Bernie Marsden guitar solo on it. It's got some great John Lord keyboard, it would have been a big hit.
Never released.
Never released. But everybody knows. You put that on, everybody loves it.
Yeah. I don't know it, but again, I'm not that sort of fan of that sort of music, but I take your word for it because I know you are. Well, 7 bubbling unders, and I will fire through these. First one, The Jam from their debut album, I Got By in Time. Bit of a punk Motown soul type feel to it. I think would have been a great follow up to In the City, but they went with All Around the World. I still think I Got By in Time should have been released. The second one is from 1985, and it's Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, and it's the opening track to their album Easy Pieces, and it's called Rich. It's full of horns, but it's a very, very melodic chorus to it, and it even references lyrics from Telegram Sam on it. The 3 singles taken from that album were Lost Weekend, Brand New Friend, and Cut Me Down, but to me, Rich is the best. My third bubbling under is from Slade, but this time it's from 1981 and from their Till Death Do Us Part album. And the song is called Let the Rock Roll Out of Control.
Oh,
Which
I love that.
It's got a real good sort of status quo feel to it. It's a really, really catchy rocker, really, really good. And I think it's actually better than Lock Up Your Daughters. My fourth one is a Led Zeppelin one, but this one is from 1973 and it's Over the Hills and Far Away. Now, I know that Led Zeppelin didn't release singles, but if there was to be one taken off the House of the Holy album, it would have been this. I love the acoustic start to it, and then it turns into almost like a glam classic.
Yeah.
And for 1973, I think that would have done so well. It's got his voice has got a little bit of a Brian Johnson Geordie feel to it as well, which I think is good. I'm going way back to 63 now with the Beatles, and from their second album with the Beatles and All My Loving, I think should have been a single between She Loves You and I Want to Hold Your Hand, or After I Want to Hold Your Hand, whatever. But it's one of McCartney's finest early songs, really, really good. And I think it's the first one they actually played. Well, it's one of the ones they played on the Ed Sullivan Show. Brilliant. The sixth one is The Smiths from their second album, Meet His Murder. And it's a track called Barbarism Begins at Home, which has got a real sort of groove to it. It is too long. It would have to be edited in some sort of way. But I remember seeing them live before that album came out. It was on the Tube or one of those shows, and I thought, this is absolutely brilliant. This is going to be a single, but it never was. And the last one is from Genesis, and it's a track called Who Done It from Abacab. I just want to see your face. I'm lying. It's not. It's Afterglow from Wind and Wuthering.
Oh.
Ian, I'll get a fan.
Afterglow is beautiful.
It is absolutely brilliant. Like, I do like the single off that album, Your Own Special Way. I think it's very good as well. But Afterglow to me is the one that was crying out to be the single. And so those are my 7 bubbling unders with a little surprise in there for you.
Yeah, I can't cope at the moment. Some good choices in there. Yeah, I mean, All My Loving.
Yeah, it's just famous.
It's singles splashing all over it, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, I've only got 5. My first one, though, is a Genesis song as well, and it's from the 1997 Calling All Stations. And it is Calling All Stations.
All
that
right, okay.
should have been the lead single, the title track. It's got a great guitar solo from Mike on it. And I think that would have been a better introduction to Ray because it's a bit more riffy. And I think it's a great song. My next one is a Queen song from Day of the Races. And guess who wrote it? Roger Taylor. Drowse, yes. Good call, yeah. I love Drowse. It's dreamy.
Yeah, it is. It's a very good song. You know the way I said I had two Queen ones.
Yeah,
My other one I was going to pick was from Day of the Races. It was You and I by John Deacon. But there you go.
yeah, Drowsy's beautiful. Okay, my next one is some Status Quo. It's on their 1994 album, Thirsty Work.
Right. Yeah. I don't know the tracks as well there.
Rude Awakening Time. It's a proper Quo track, but what did they release? Or the record company? Sherry. Don't Leave Me Now. What a load of tripe. That would have been a far better single. My next one is a Mike Oldfield, 2005, from the Light and Shade album, and a thing called Lakme Fruity Loops.
Oh yeah, I like that. I do like that
That
track.
would have been a great single. It's fun, it's quirky. I think it's got it shows that even Mike Oldfield could do a bit of dance, but do it properly and melodically.
Was that not used in a British Airways ad or something like that there?
Yes, it was. I think it's been used. It's a wonderful piece of music. And my last one is from Marillion, from the 1991 album Holidays in Eden, which was EMI wanted a pop album, and they got this mishmash of a pop. They released some really bland singles on it, but the one they really missed out on is the rocker called This Town, which is a really good meaty song. It's not wishy-washy. It's got some nice. It's a great vocal from Steve Hogarth. That would have been a better single than Dry Land, which is not even a Marillion song. That was a European song that Steve Hogarth was in. And better than Cover My Eyes, which was just a poppy nonsense. But This Town would have been a better song. So there is my 5.
I enjoyed that. I always do enjoy these lists. You know,
Yes.
I could have like 20 bubbling unders that were just sometimes I struggle a little bit with some of it, but this one I had to try and keep it down, and I kept adding and adding and adding. So it was.
Yeah, there was one or two other Quo songs I could have had off them later albums that they should just released. But yeah, as you say, there were so many. Anyway, we know what we're doing next time, and all we're going to tell you is greater than 8. And that's where we're leaving it.
Exactly.
That'll get your brains ticking. But what I will say, if you think you know what we're going to do put it in the comments below, and we'll have a chuckle about it to see how clever you are.
Yeah. Indeed.
Okay, thanks again, Richard. Consider, we're both not very poorly. We're very poorly people today.
Yeah, I have a toothache.
Richard's got a toothache. I think I've got a summer cold. But as for popular, because everyone loves these, we've battled on for you. So all I'm going to say, it's great to see you, Richard, and it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him. Bye for now.